Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where we talk with people from all walks of the publishing industry. I'm Christie Stratos, historical suspense and fantasy author, and my awesome co-hosts are Richard H. Stevens, he's an epic fantasy author, and David M. Kelly, who is a science fiction author, and he actually had a release today, which I'm sure he will let you guys know about.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very exciting day. So stick around because at the end we talk about what's going on with us a little bit. So you'll hear more about his book soon. So Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, which means we love for you guys to comment down below and, just talk about the books you're hearing because we're going to be doing a live reading today. It's a super exciting episode. And, ask us any questions you may have, about our books or anything else you want to say. So today you may notice we have two guests because of our live reading. And our two guests are Lindsey Pogue, who is going to be reading from her book Tide and Tempest, and A.F. Stewart, who's going to be reading from her book Visions and Nightmares. So we're super excited to have you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. This is really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
I was super excited. So we're going to be doing historical fantasy live read. Really cool, something a little bit different. And before we get started, we're going to dive right into it, but we want to hear a little bit about our guests. So take it away, A.F. Stewart. Let's hear a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Anita Stewart. I write under A.F. Stewart, and I write mostly kind of dark fantasy, horror fantasy, and straight up horror, although I do a little poetry on the side. And most of my stuff is pretty dark and creepy, and that's the way I like it.
That's the best way. Great. And how about you, Lindsey?
So I write, it's kind of funny. So I've been writing since 2013, and I started off writing post-apoc, and I wanted to write like some post-apoc romance, and I co-authored a series called the Ending Series, because they didn't really have a lot of romance back then in the post-apoc realm. So it kind of has just changed. I actually have a degree in history and culture, so the more that I keep writing and, creating these weather ravaged worlds and the survival and all this stuff, I keep working in more and more history. So it's kind of just turned into this newest series that I'm working on, Ruined Lands, has a lot of historical, worked into it. And it went from being more dystopian to being this series is essentially historical fantasy retellings of fairy tales. So anyway,
that's fantastic. And so cool. It really sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, have I missed anything before we get started, Richard? Because sometimes I do.
I don't think so. I think. Are you going to introduce yourself, Christie?
Me? Who am I?
No, as one of the authors.
I suppose I could do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll be reading from.
I was going to say, yep.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so I'm Christie Stratos. I write historical suspense and historical fantasy. So my historical suspense it's called the Dark Victoriana collection. And I have two novels in that, Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and Brotherhood of Secrets. As I said, all suspense and all the Victorian era. No one goes unscathed. That's the tagline. And then I also have two short stories, and that's The Artist and The Wrong House. All of these can be read as standalones or all together in one universe. And then I also have been writing historical fantasy lately. And that's what we're going to be reading today. That is called Grimoire Society of Dark Acts. And that one's really exciting because it's a serial. So you can read it on Amazon, and it's specifically on Kindle Vella and on Patreon. And I'm going to introduce you to where we're coming into it. But I've been really loving that. Again, it's Victorian era, as everything that I write, but it's fantasy, dark fantasy, and I've had so much fun writing it. So currently that one is completed, and I'm writing the second book now. So yeah, that's what we're going to be getting into today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love the Victorian era.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. My favorite. I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, Anita has written in the Victorian era too. Awesome. And before.
So we're going to start with you, Christie. So if you want to introduce your story and give us all a bit of a background and maybe the characters that are in it and our cast of characters who are reading them, and you were ready to go whenever you are.
Perfect. So this one is going to be from episode 7 of Grimoire Society of Dark Acts. Is going to be, that's or it's still early on. There are 26 episodes total. So at this point, our main character is Humphrey Bollington, and he's middle-aged, slightly overweight, slightly graying
I've been typecast.
character. What'd you say?
I've been typecast. We were just talking about Dave being typecast.
Yeah. So he stumbled into the Grimoire Society of Dark Acts by accident. He was bored with his life. He's a druggist. He finds life so dull. And so he stumbled into Grimoire Society of Dark Acts, into their society house, and managed to accidentally end up bloodbound to them. So he is their new oracle. There are 6 people in this Grimoire Society of Dark Acts. He's the 6th. So he has no idea how to do anything or what is happening, basically. He's just being introduced to everything as we go along. So his magic artifact is a crystal ball, and he doesn't know how to use it yet, but his abilities seem pretty random to him and uncontrollable. So at this point in the book, he was just about to go to sleep. This is the society house, so they all live in the same house. He's still kind of like confused and flabbergasted by all of this. All the magic around him and everything. So he suddenly has a vision. This is one of the things that happens when you have a crystal ball, and he can't interpret it on his own. So he has to call Finnegan into his bedroom and say, Finnegan is another character. This is the group's decipherist, and say, what on earth is this? What are they saying to me? What's going on? So Finnegan reads the vision, and it says that another Grimoire Society is on their way to try and basically steal Humphrey away. So everyone wants an oracle, right? Who doesn't want to be able to tell the future? So the Grimoire Society of Assassins is on their way, and Humphrey's like terrified because he doesn't know what this means. So we have a pretty big cast of characters here. I hope it doesn't get confusing. But we have Humphrey, who I already described, and then we have I'm not going to describe too much because I don't want you guys to get confused or bored with it. But Finnegan is Irish, so he's supposed to have an Irish accent, but Richard is like brilliant with accents, so I expect it to be perfect.
Me too.
Yeah.
All my accents sound like Yoda.
And then we have a few other characters. David is going to be playing kind of opposites. We have Knox, who's super gruff, and then we have Carmichael, who's the exact opposite and is like super aloof with like this high-end British accent. And he's being typecast, unfortunately. He's gonna be gruff a few times tonight. Everybody just relax. And then we have Anne, who is a really straightforward Spitfire type of lady, and we have a couple of people whose names we don't necessarily know, and they're from Grimoire Assassins. So I hope that made sense. I hope it wasn't too much. Yeah. And I'm ready to get started if you guys are.
Yeah, I am.
We're good to go. Yeah, I got to get dressed. It looks like. Oh, that's the first line. Sorry.
This is my version of being a male narrator.
Nice.
This is the best I can do. I need to get like paste on mutton chops. That would do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, and a nice stash. Yeah.
So I'll apologize for my throat in advance just in case, because sometimes I just get like dry. All right, here we go. Humphrey dressed as quickly as possible. Assassins? For him? Finnegan raced out of the room, and Humphrey heard the sound of a loud bell. Perfect. He peered out of his door as he buttoned his shirt and saw Finnegan pulling on a rope inside the wall, which had been covered by a wooden panel. Commotion from downstairs drew Humphrey out of his room. Knox ran out of his own bedroom, still putting on his shirt. He certainly was built to fight. No wonder he had said he was the muscle of the group. Not 1 inch of his torso was anything but muscle. Humphrey sucked in his stomach.
Already coming for him?
Knox asked Finnegan, who was on his way back to his room to put on his clothes.
And fast.
Finnegan shouted back. Carmichael bounded up the steps and straight to the grimoire's room, some of his usually perfect hair sticking straight up despite his full suit looking flawless.
Gertrude is securing the first floor,
he yelled as he ran into the room. Anne made it up the steps next, her long wavy blonde hair undone from its thick braid. Humphrey almost felt he should look away.
Should I take him out of here?
She hollered to Carmichael. Finnegan came out of his room in his shirt and pants, hopping as he put on his second shoe.
He must learn. Leave him be.
Attach Knox to him,
Carmichael cried from the grimoire's room. Knox went to Humphrey's side, and Anne removed a purple stone from her pocket. She threw the stone to Knox, who formed a fist around it and then handed it to Humphrey.
Quick, close your hand around it,
Anne said. Humphrey did as he was told. She held her open palm out and he tossed it back to her. Her skirts swished as she whirled around.
I'll help Gertrude.
In a moment, she was gone down the stairs. A bright white flash came from the grimoire's room.
What's going on?
Humphrey asked, the whole situation totally overwhelming him. Finnegan went into Humphrey's room and came out with the crystal ball.
He's getting advice.
Humphrey took the crystal, his hands shaking with his nerves. Was this the end for him? Could this group really protect him from assassins? It was their very job to kill. How could these people help him? Knox slipped his brass knuckles onto both hands, and this time Humphrey noticed each knuckle had a small stud on it. He grimaced at the thought of being hit by them. Carmichael came out of the grimoire's room, cradling it in his arms. Bang! The door to the roof flew open, and down dropped 3 people in a row, all in black. Carmichael's eyes went white as he chanted his backward language. But before he could finish, a woman threw something at Humphrey. He held the crystal ball tightly, unable to hold up his hands to defend his face. The crystal ball sucked his hand inside and moved of its own accord, blocking the object and knocking it to the floor.
Blast!
The woman said. She ran at Humphrey and Carmichael finished. White light surrounded Humphrey in an oval, and the woman's body bounced off the other side of it. Carmichael laughed haughtily, the white oval of light around himself, too. The woman sneered at him and ran down the stairs as if she'd been in this house 1,000 times. Knox and Finnegan attacked the men. Knox shoved one man into the wall so hard Humphrey heard a cracking sound. He wasn't sure if it was the wall or the man's head. As the man gained his wits, Knox punched him in the face without mercy. The man's head flew to the side, blood spurting from his crunched nose. Helpless with no experience fighting, Humphrey could only watch as Finnegan sparred with the other man. Humphrey gripped the jelly texture inside the crystal ball, wishing he could help, wishing he knew some way to fight that wouldn't land him face down on the floor in 2 seconds flat. Zzz! A thin beam of yellow lightning flashed from the crystal ball and hit the man Finnegan found right in the small of his back. He startled and put his hand to the spot. Finnegan threw his arm around the man's head and held his body locked against his waist.
Well done, Bollington.
Carmichael shouted. Humphrey's shock left his jaw slack. How had he done that? Done with the man whose face would have to be put back together, Knox approached Finnegan's trapped assassin, who held up his hands in surrender when he saw the 2 sets of studded brass knuckles.
Please.
Please, what?
Knox said, even rougher than usual. The floor beneath Humphrey rumbled, and a puff of blue smoke flew up between the floorboards. The man being held by Finnegan glanced at it and looked up with a new spark in his eye.
Let's just talk,
he said, his blonde hair undone from its previous coiffure. He glanced at the floorboards again and then back at Knox. Humphrey moved back, the white oval of protective light moving with him. The floor rumbled again and spouted more blue smoke, followed by yellow light.
Move, Bollington.
Carmichael shouted. Humphrey tried to take a step, but almost fell over, swinging his arms out wildly to regain his balance. His feet were planted to the spot. The floor buckled and broke below him, just as Carmichael shouted,
The Tarterville!
Humphrey's stomach fell as he dropped through the floor. White light moved in around him, outlining his body, and he rose quickly as Carmichael's levitation caught him and floated him well above the floor. Humphrey's stomach felt sick from the jostling.
Blast!
Came the same woman's voice from below. The man in Finnegan's grasp grabbed him tightly around the waist, lifted him off the ground, and slammed him down. Finnegan lost his grip and his balance. Knox ran forward, but the man had already stumbled to the stairs. Somehow, Humphrey couldn't tell how, Carmichael moved him over to solid ground and put him down, letting go of his levitation command. The white light disappeared. Knox was right behind the man, running down the stairs, their footsteps pounding loudly.
No time to waste, Bollington.
Carmichael followed with the grimoire glowing brightly. Humphrey ran to Finnegan and helped him up.
Thanks, old fella.
Finnegan straightened.
Well, at least for the moment, they seem to have forgotten about you.
He walked over to the only man left in the attic and knelt by him, examining his face, Finnegan pursed his lips.
Is he still alive?
Humphrey asked. Finnegan simply nodded, then kicked the man's legs. His eye flew open.
You can't have our oracle,
Finnegan said. The man seemed to want to say something, but struggled to open his mouth.
Knox probably broke his jaw.
That's what you get for being an assassin,
Finnegan said. The man's head flopped to the side and his eyes squeezed shut. A thump came from downstairs, followed by shouts.
Shall we see what else you can do with this thing?
Finnegan asked, gesturing to the crystal ball.
I didn't do that.
Humphrey said, thinking of the lightning bolt.
It was this thing all on its own.
He lifted the crystal ball, his hands still inside. Finnegan smirked.
You did it. You just didn't realize what you were doing. Come on, try again downstairs.
Something came through the door to the roof. Not something. Someone. The same woman from before. How had she... She threw an object at Humphrey just like she had the first time, as if time were repeating itself. The crystal ball tried to block it, but was too slow. Or perhaps it had been Humphrey's realization that was too slow. It hit his stomach as the woman grabbed hold of his arm, and his vision went dark. Gravity disappeared, and Humphrey's stomach floated sickeningly without it, the floor gone from beneath him. All at once, his stomach plummeted, and he felt the floor under him again, but it was still dark, and the woman's grip had disappeared. The scrape of a match caught Humphrey's attention, and he spun to find the light.
Oh, don't spin. Oh.
He felt ready to lose his insides, but he kept his eyes on the match and watched as it lit a gas lamp, which brightened a whole new room.
Welcome to the Grimoire Society of Assassins.
The pale woman who'd thrown something at him said. Her smile was that of a fox cornering a hen. She put her hand to her chest.
My name is Edith. I believe you already met my twin sister, Josephine.
She motioned to the side.
Please sit down.
Humphrey looked around the room and found a deep blue chaise lounge to his left. The walls were surprisingly flowery for an assassin's guild. Should Humphrey sit? He felt frozen in place and still sick.
Sit,
she said sharply, her lip flaring into a sneer. Humphrey swallowed hard, remembering the time Anne had buggied him.
You work with runes?
A no less predatory smile overtook her lips.
I do indeed, among other things. And you are the oracle, the one we've been waiting for.
Knox suddenly appeared right next to Humphrey, literally out of thin air.
How did you get here?
Edith snarled.
We're attached, which means you can't have him without getting me.
Knox said. Knox raised a brass-knuckled fist.
Couldn't separate us if you tried, and you did try.
He would use those even against a woman? Humphrey wasn't sure that was a good thing. She backed away and put her hand in her pocket. Was she getting another rune? Humphrey wanted to stop her, to help Knox, help them both. The crystal ball flew in front of him, dragging his hand along with it, and a thin lightning bolt shot out and zapped her hand through her pocket.
Ow!
She eyed him with anger, but the look quickly changed to knowing.
You've got the hang of it for a newcomer.
She stepped toward him.
Why would you put yourself in league with dark acts when you could be part of the Grimoire Assassins? Don't you know what they do to you?
That's enough,
Knox said.
Grimoire Assassins ain't no better.
Don't let this hayseed manipulate you.
She shouted. Knox's eyes widened.
Grimoire Assassins are a higher level of justice. Dark acts is just an excuse to hurt others the way they've been hurt.
Knox reached into his pants pocket.
I'm warning you. Shut your mouth and send us back. A woman ain't no different than a man when she's a threat. I'll do what I have to.
Edith stared into Humphrey's eyes.
Your talents are wasted with them. At least consider joining us instead. I'm sure you can see the kind you're working with now.
She glanced at Knox and then back at Humphrey. The idea of hurting a woman was shocking to him, although he'd had to help more than a handful of married women whose domestic issues had turned violent and required his assistance as a druggist. This woman had kidnapped Humphrey. Was this different enough to warrant violence against her? Knox raised his head, looking down at her, even though she was taller than him.
As if you ain't killed no one or maimed them. I seem to remember having to finish a job you started just out of sheer kindness. Can't leave a man in a state like that. It's cruel.
Edith's eyebrows rose.
Cruel? No one from Dark Axe can speak of such things. Don't be ridiculous.
And you don't think leaving a man with none of his senses and only one of his limbs is cruel? You got a funny way of thinking.
Humphrey's mouth dropped open. Edith turned her head away, but left her eyes on Knox.
He deserved it.
Awesome! And that was from
so
episode 7 of Grimoire Society of Dark Axe. You guys did so well. I just love that.
Oh my God, that was
hearing
funny.
you
Every time I looked at David's mustache, I couldn't stop.
read. That was brilliant. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
Perfect.
I decided if he was like a Victorian upper class gentleman, he ought to have a mustache.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you
Oh,
guys
that was
so
fun.
much. It's just so much fun hearing it come to life.
What's happening?
I think Dave's playing Mario.
Sound.
This is going to be a commercial.
Commercial message.
Oh, okay.
My phone went crazy.
You think? That's funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay,
Fantastic.
so that is it for that one. I'm going to go to that one.
All
we
right. Thank you
what
guys
we
so,
do next?
so much again. And next, we're going to head into Lindsay's.
Yeah.
And Lindsay's is called.
Yeah, mine's calm. This was actually a lot harder than I expected to try and find a place in the book where there was enough characters at one time so everybody could have a role, but then not way too many, and then something semi-interesting going on. But I figured at least with a drunk person, I couldn't be so bad, right?
No, this is
It has to
perfect.
work. Dave, you were brilliant as a ruffian.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that dialogue was written just for you.
I know. Yeah. When Anita and David were going back and forth, I was like, this is it. This is it. Yeah, I love it.
You better watch it. Lindsay or Hillary's going to want you to keep that mustache.
Possibly. Although she didn't like the goatee the other week, so
So she just wanted the top part, yeah.
yeah, it didn't survive contact with the enemy.
Okay, so our next reader is going to be Lindsey Pogue. So, Lindsay, if you want to introduce your story and set up the background and let us know who's doing what, and you can get that started whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so we're going to be reading from Titan Tempest. It is my latest release. It is from a more dystopian series, but it's very much historical fantasy in the world, and it's very kind of like Viking historical. So anyways, Titan Tempest, this is what we're reading today. And essentially, this is an alternative history fantasy world where climate changed around the start of the Industrial Revolution. So Tempest, black fog, sandstorms ravaged the earth. Just kind of everybody went into hiding in all these different pockets or they died. So this is kind of fast forwarding hundreds of years, and these people in this world that I've created are finding their ways to survive, right? They have their own civilization now, and it's kind of taken on a lot of different forms. So in this specific story, Titan Tempest is about a young woman from a coastal village. It's kind of set in like a very dystopian San Francisco, really. And it's in a land where lightning storms and tempests ravage everything. And so it's you have the dangers of the weather, but then you also have Vikings and pirates and raiders. So this particular scene that we're going to be diving into it takes place after Samara's father returned. She's the main character. And there was a raid when she was much younger, and essentially her father was completely in despair, and he left her behind to go kill the raiders, right? Well, he didn't come back for years. She thought he was dead. She's kind of been an orphan ever since, just living among her village. And so when her father does return, and he happens to be, spoiler alert, he does return, he's alive, but he's actually a raider now. So it's like this huge turmoil for her in that she's supposed to hate these people. Her father is like the leader now, and he's quote unquote changed. But let's see. So this is kind of like the first night when they're all sitting together, when she's not totally freaking out, and some of the people from the village are sitting around, kind of catching up with him and what's going on in his life. You kind of get a feel for what the world is like. They talk about the storms and what's happening, but really it's just kind of a fun scene. So Abraham is her father. So again, Samara is the main character, and she's pretty cynical, but she's also distrusting for a lot of reasons. Obviously, she was abandoned by her family. And then, so Abraham's her father. He's the one who's returned, and he's now, the lead raider. Then you have Rory, which is kind of the village drunk. His wife died during this big raid when Samara's mother died, and so he's kind of never been the same since. And his son is Eric, who will make an appearance, and he's kind of picked up everything that his father's dropped by the wayside, right? Because he's non-functional at this point. So he'll show up, and he's actually the love interest for Samara. They've actually been enemies, though, their whole lives. So this is kind of where there's some tension here. And then Raph is her new, I guess you could call him stepbrother. He kind of came on the ship with her father, and she actually tried to kill him at the very beginning because he was, she thought he was a raider. And then Gil is one of the town people. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I'm going to narrate, and I'm going to be Raph for his few scenes. Richard, you're going to be Abraham. David, Rory the drunk, sorry. Anita is going to be Samara. And Eric, and then Christie is going to be Gil.
Great.
We're
This
good
is
to
my
go?
attempt at being a man. This is as good as it's gonna.
I love it.
Richard says it's perfect.
Oh,
Great,
this
Richard.
is so good. Oh my goodness gracious. We're going to have this link to share with people later, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so here we go. My brow beads with sweat as I stir the stew one last time in the hearth. I can chop leeks and garlic and mushrooms well enough, but with 5 hungry people sitting around the table, bellies rumbling as they wait for food, I find I can't even recall if I've added all the spices or not.
There's a reason I rarely cook for anyone but Gil and me. I'm horrible at it.
I grumble. Not to worry, Raph says, coming up behind me. His grin is as cocky as ever. Everyone has enough ale. You won't have to worry about their taste buds. Smiling, I shake my head, knowing it's true. He reclaims his chair at the table and scrapes beneath his fingernails with the tip of his knife, looking bored, though he appears every part the raider, from buckled boot to scabbard blades and the sun-bleached vest. Raph's devil-may-care attitude and handsome face make him far less terrifying than I initially thought, especially when he smiles about something my father says, looking almost boyish. I ladle the first bowl and slide it down the table.
You've been gone for years.
Rory slurs and refills his ale.
Well, the suspense.
I had to get me affairs in order and was waiting for the right time to return.
My father explains.
It was with Izza's encouragement that I decided it was finally time to make the journey, though I was surprised when she decided to join me.
Oh, yes, your new family.
Raph looks at me, and the Rory statement sends a quiet chill over the room. He's too drunk to notice.
Anyway,
my father continues, clearing his throat.
It seems our timing was a bit off. The storms are early this season.
Every season these days.
Gil says from across the table.
And it's only getting worse.
I set another bowl of soup on the tabletop, and it sloshes over the brim as Rory slams his fist down with a hearty laugh.
I know it's only a matter of time before you can come back. Everyone said you were dead, but I knew.
He wags his finger at my father.
You're too much of a brute to die, even if you wish for it.
Everything that happened before my father left has been a topic he's danced around since his return, and I'm glad of it. I don't wish to hear about the past, not when trying to reconcile it with the present makes me sad and resentful. Instead, I remember Gil, Rory, Andrik, and my father sitting around the table like this years ago. though Rory was never quite so joyful, nor so drunk.
And what about you, old friend?
My father tips his mug at Rory.
I was tanning and pelting these days. Have the seasons changed so much the sea lions no longer migrate here? I haven't heard any since my return.
Eh?
Rory shrugs, wiping his mouth with a disgruntled huff.
The changing tides take them further down the coast each year. Eric knows whether the timing's right.
He takes a gulp of his ale. Sorry. It foams on his tiny mustache and he licks his lips.
Some years a bit harder than others, I reckon. But we bring in enough to supply the village during the summer months. And enough to trade when we need. That boy of mine sees to it. He's probably working right now.
Rory's glassy eyes shadow as he ruminates.
Eric keeps the meat and hides coming in as best he can.
I set the loaf of ice spread on the center of the table, wishing I could be anywhere else but here.
I can't say much for you, old friend, but it seems you've done something right by that son of yours.
My father cups one of the bowls in his large hands as he glances around the table.
Hopefully our efforts trolling the sea for the enemy have provided the village with one less thing to worry about. I'm sure it does much for your current weather predicament. As the weather worsens, so will your harvest. What will you do in 5 years, or 10, when there is no winter break from the storm at all? Surely you won't be able to stay here for much longer.
It's a matter we've been discussing.
Gil explains, taking a sip from his bowl. The room falls temporarily silent. With everyone eating, I ladle a bowl for myself. I'm about to put the spoon back into the pot when there's a knock at the door. Expecting someone? It's a jest, one that's almost cruel because Raph knows I'm not much for friends. When no one moves to get the door, I heave out a sigh.
Allow me.
I drawl and crack the door open, expecting to find one of my father's men, but I stop short.
Eric?
Straightening, I open the door wider. Eric clears his throat as his gaze shifts from me into the cottage. In all the years I've known him, he's never looked as out of place as he does standing in my doorway, his large frame nearly filling it.
I'm here to collect my father.
He says quietly.
There's me boy.
Rory sings. Eric's clothes are dirty everywhere, save for where his leather apron covered him. He looks exhausted, his eyes shadowed and red-rimmed, and I wonder when he last sat down to rest.
You ready, Pop?
Time to collect me.
Rory chuckles, but irritation prickles over me. I don't find it the slightest bit funny that this has been Eric's life for the past 6 years. Strange as it feels, I wave Eric inside.
Come, sit, eat something. I can't guarantee it's any good, but it's warm.
Eric's brow furrows and his eyes shift over me as if he's worried it's a trap.
Come on.
I say, grabbing his arm. It's hard and flexes against my fingers, but he allows me to pull him inside.
I'll get you a bowl.
It's good to see you, son.
My father rises to shake Eric's hand.
You too.
Eric takes a seat by his father with a quick, awkward nod. There's barely room for the 5 people at our meager table, let alone Eric's large frame, but they make it work. Raph levels a watchful gaze on him, the tension from their silent but threatening exchange at the cart earlier settling in, though I think I might be the only one who notices. I walk a bowl of soup over to Eric, and the conversation from before continues around us.
Thank you.
He peers up at me, his brow knit with unease instead of his usual contempt.
Sure.
I walk back to my seat at the fire as everyone falls in conversation once more.
This uncertain weather is why we've postponed Link's wedding feast.
Gil explains.
We wanted to make sure the village had the supplies needed to last the storm season first.
We need more lightning rods.
My father muses as he dips a chunk of bread into the soup.
Lonemore lost 3 people last storm season, and we've lost 7 since you left. We need more metal to smelt.
Oh, yes, we should.
My father says, tearing a piece of bread between his teeth.
We mean to contribute while we're here. Assuming the weather holds, Raph will lead a team of men to hunt tomorrow while the rest of us help with village repairs.
building together one like old times.
Rory slurps down the last of his soup, and when he looks up, it drips from his mustache.
It hasn't been the same here since you left. Not without you or Olivia.
Raph spoon stills at his lips as Rory looks at me.
You still look like her, Samara. Even with that face of yours. After all this time and all those scars.
My blood burns through me, and my cheeks fill with fire as everyone's eyes shift to me. Everyone's but my father's.
Pop.
Eric's voice is full of warning.
No matter how hard you try, you'll always be like her, I think.
Eric reaches for Rory's arm.
It's time to go. Come on.
Must be strange for you, eh, Bram?
That's enough.
Eric tugs him off the bench seat.
Come on, old man.
He commands, manhandling his father toward the door. Everyone's attention shifts from Rory to me again, but it's Eric I can't pry my eyes away from.
Now.
He growls, low in his father's ear, grabbing Rory by the shoulder. With one hand, he flings the door open and shoves him outside with the other. I tell myself it's embarrassment that makes Eric work so quickly, but I can't help the fullness of my chest as my heart swells with gratitude. Eric flashes me a strange look over his shoulder, his eyes locking on mine as his eyebrows draw together. Then he latches the door behind him. I love that it was supposed to be a kind of a dramatic, like weird, like tension-filled moment, and I could not stop laughing the whole time. Oh, that was really fun. Good job, you guys. I especially love the bread eating. I wasn't expecting that. You guys really go for the gold in this group, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think we are trying to one-up each other each show we do, so I can just imagine what it's going to be like by the end of the year.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Full costumes.
Yeah, I might not be able to do Anita's read, so maybe we should get into it.
That was great. Thanks,
that was
guys.
good.
Oh,
Absolutely. It was a great piece, too.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the story for sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good. All right. Now to be a dead person.
Well, not quite dead. Sort of more undead.
Undead person.
Yeah. So, my reading is going to be from my short story collection, Visions and Nightmares, and it's Gears of the Undead. Lindsay gets to be the undead.
Yes.
And basically, it's sort of a mad scientist steampunk set in Victorian London, and it's a little bit of a Frankenstein tale as well. So, and David and Richard get to be Eddie and Harry, who are the ne'er-do-wells who dig up the bodies for the mad scientist, who Christie is going to be playing. So
Nice. I love it.
Oh.
Yeah. Dr. Kilbride would definitely wear something like that. So
Dead. Definitely dead. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm scared. What's he gonna come in with now? Is that dirt?
that's a shovel.
Come on, let's get this going.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have to recover from that. Just give me a
I
minute.
know, right? Oh, this is great.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Oh my God. No.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is there going to be shoveling sound effects with like soil falling?
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody ready to go?
All set.
Okay, here we go. The church spires cast shadows next to the moon, while the gas lamps of the adjoining street flickered in time to the sound of the shovels hitting dirt.
She'd better pay for what she promised, Harry. I don't like the idea of grave robbing, not without being paid what she promised.
Shut it, Eddie. She'll pay. Now put your back into the work and clamp down your yapping.
Don't you complain about me work none.
Eddie hissed at his cohort and slammed his spade into the ground, heaving up a mound of earth.
I still don't like it. We're in the middle of a bloody London, behind a church, digging up bodies for a lunatic.
He spat, the spittle sliding into the upturned loam.
What if we get caught? It'll be our heads on the block, not hers.
She's not a lunatic. She's
Harry fumbled for a minute, rolling the correct word on his tongue.
a visionary. That's what she is. A scientist who's looking forward into the years ahead.
He smiled like a smug cat with a belly full of cream.
And you won't get caught, not unless you keep yelping loud enough to wake the dead.
Suddenly aware of what he said, Harry clamped a hand across his mouth.
Don't say that.
Eddie shivered and glanced fearfully over his shoulder.
We're in a bloody graveyard disturbing the dead. Don't summon spirits, Harry. Whatever you bloody well do.
Sorry.
Harry ducked his head and continued digging. Under his breath, he mumbled a prayer. As he ended with a half-whispered "Amen," his shovel clunked, echoing off wood.
Hallelujah.
Harry exclaimed, his mood lightening.
That'll be the coffin.
Good. Let's get this thing out of the ground and delivered.
Pulling their neckerchiefs over their noses to block the stench of death, Harry and Eddie went to work with renewed vigor, unearthing one end of the coffin with all haste. Then, with grunts and a few choice curses, they broke through the wood, wrapping a rope around the body, and hauled the corpse from its final resting place. They loaded the grisly burden onto their wagon and covered it with a piece of canvas. They filled in the grave and were soon on their way into the London night, with no one the wiser for their misdeed. The horses' hooves clomped on the cobblestone streets in a soothing rhythm, the rattles and creaks of the wagon keeping discordant time. Eddie cast surreptitious glances every few feet, still nervous and looking for police.
What if the peelers stop us, Eddie? How will we explain?
Stop with the fidgets, Eddie.
Harry hissed, his friends whining, grating on his own nerves.
It ain't like you're an angel. You've done plenty worse than this, and ain't blinked an eye. Why are you going squeamish on me for this job?
It's the nature of the thing, Eddie. Even for me, this ain't proper. Don't feel right. The dead should stay buried. If I didn't need the money so bad.
Eddie sighed.
You sure she'll pay?
Harry smiled.
She'll pay.
And with that statement, he flicked the reins and picked up the pace a bit. A row of 7 gurneys lined the length of the outer wall. Each supported an amalgam of body parts cobbled together with mechanical apparatus and sustained by clanking medical equipment that hissed steam. Dr. Louise Kilbride stood over one of her creations, a man strapped down and immobile, adjusting a joint with a spanner and a screwdriver.
There, that should fix your problem. That armor will fine in no time, you'll see.
She patted the dead flesh of the elbow.
I'll make everything better, don't you worry.
At the sound of her voice, the creature on the metal table turned his head, and his one mechanical eye blinked with a whiz and a click. The other eye did nothing, as it was simply an empty socket.
Why?
A rasp of guttural sound of stammered syllables, barely distinguishable as a voice, spewed from his throat.
Why this? Pain, torture.
The last word sounded clear as a Sunday church bell and caught Dr. Kilbride by surprise.
It's not torture.
She smiled and smoothed the little remaining hair on his head as one would a frightened child.
It's rebirth, and like all birth, it's painful and confusing. But you mustn't fight it so. Let it happen. And soon we'll all be part of a family.
She waved her hand, indicating the other figures arrayed against the wall.
Then we won't feel alone. We'll all be happy together. Then you will all understand what I've accomplished, what I've created.
She kissed the decayed flesh of his forehead as a pitiful moan escaped his mouth. Dr. Kilbride ignored the soft lamentation. Instead, she gave her creation another smile and repeated,
Soon we'll be a family, all of us, a happy family.
The sound of scuffing feet and grunting drew her attention. Harry poked his head into the laboratory room.
Where do you want this latest one, Doctor? We drag him up into the corridor here, but we ain't taking him further till we knows where we're going.
Put him in cold storage. I made room this morning.
Will do.
Harry disappeared, and she heard more grunts and footsteps as they faded away.
Excellent. Did you hear that, my sweet? Another specimen. Soon I'll be done with plenty of spare parts, and everything will be perfection.
Another moan came from her creature, but she only laughed, thrilled with the progress of her work.
What do you think she plans to do with all of them? I mean, when she's finished remaking a lot of these poor buggers.
Eddie asked the question between grunts as they positioned their most recent corpse in the cold storage room among the other dead.
Is she raising an army or something?
Nah.
Harry gave their body one last shove and then wiped the sweat from his brow.
Harry?
Come on, Harry. You're not answering me, Harry.
At least I don't think so. She keeps rambling on about family. I think she's just lonely.
I just thought you got your knickers in a twist there, Harry. You weren't answering me. A funny way to go on about getting a family. Besides, I thought you'd want to live people as a family. I think it'd be a bit awkward at the holiday dinners with dead people around the table. What do you feed them?
Maybe you wouldn't. Feed them, I mean. Sure, cut down on the bills it would.
I could use a few less of those.
Eddie smirked and then exclaimed,
Hey, maybe we give her a bill collector next time. Maybe even a fresh kill.
Eddie's smirk turned to a wicked grin.
Much as I'd like that, she wouldn't. No killing, she said.
Harry gave Eddie a stern look.
Anyways, she always sends out for specific salts. She's particular who we dig up.
Shame that bit. There's one or two blokes I wouldn't mind ending up giving over to her.
I know what you mean, it's tempting, but I don't think I'd like crossing the good doctor.
I suppose. She is, well, the whole thing seems peculiar.
Eddie shrugged. Harry bit his lip and nodded, knowing what Eddie meant, but unwilling to label his employer as crazy, at least out loud.
We're better off not questioning, I think.
Yeah, perhaps, but still, the whole thing don't make sense. Why does she do it? Better yet, how does she do it? I mean, one of those things of hers is moving, talking. It's not like just some barmy scientist messing with corpses and whatnot. She brought a dead person back to life. That ain't natural. That ain't no science I ever heard of. Not that I've heard of much, mind, but it fair gives me the willies. What if she's messing with something supernatural or devil worship or something?
I don't know, Eddie, I don't know. That worries me too. How she does it ain't natural. I don't think it's something evil either. But that ain't the thing that worries me the most. It's whether she can control those things of hers.
Eddie whistled in surprise, as if the thought had never occurred to him.
What have we got ourselves into, Eddie?
I don't know. A mess, maybe. I just think of the money and the hope that things turn out all right and keep my mouth shut. You should do the same.
Yeah, I guess we're in too deep now.
Dr. Kilbride listened to Harry and Eddie leave, their work finished, and the great clank of the front door slammed behind them. She went out and slid home the bolt, locking herself in for the remainder of the night. She wandered back into her operating theater, facing her creations.
Hello, my dears. Our friends have left for the night, and we're alone. Time to get to work.
A little moan came from the left.
Not you, my sweet. Tonight, I'll work on my girls. They're almost ready.
She smiled.
I have to attach their new arms and give them another dose of the serum. It will work better on them with the limited decay, like it did on you. They should last quite a while before I must replace flesh again.
She sighed.
Not like the others.
She glanced at the tables farthest from the door.
I waited too long with them. There'll be more machine than flesh by the time I awaken them.
Then she turned and flashed a smile at her conscious creation.
Oh well, they'll still be my family, mechanical or not.
She hummed as she walked to the gurneys containing the strapped-down, unconscious bodies of the 2 young girls missing their arms. On a nearby table lay 2 pairs of clockwork mechanical arms and several syringes. Dr. Kilbride picked up one limb and glanced back at the man.
How old were they when they died? Aged 10 and 12?
The man refused to answer, turning his head.
I suppose it doesn't matter. They're past aging now. But soon you'll be reunited. Won't that be jolly?
She grabbed a syringe and turned her attention to the girl nearest to her. She injected the syringe's contents into the child's neck and then waited. The girl's eyes flickered, and Dr. Kilbride smiled.
Excellent. She's waking up. I can begin.
The doctor fitted the mechanical arm to the child's right stump, ratcheting and securing the metal apparatus in place. She retrieved a screwdriver from the table and one by one tightened the attaching screws to the flesh and to the bone. The girl's screams filled the room, and she heaved against her restraints as each screw pierced her and fastened her new arm into place. The man's sobbing moans echoed each shriek of the child. Dr. Kilbride ignored it all, focusing only on her work until she fused the new arm to the stump.
There. All done. Now, on to the next limb.
The child renewed her shrieks, tears soaking into the gurney's linens, the medical bed creaking under the force of her struggles to escape. Dr. Kilbride began to sing a lullaby and scooped up the child's other arm. Then she repeated the procedure for the girl's left arm. At the end, the child subsided into weeping and whimpers. Dr. Kilbride injected another syringe of serum into the girl's neck. She turned to the man.
There now. Your daughter is good as new. One restored and one to go.
She smiled, lifted a remaining clockwork arm and a syringe, and walked to the other child's bed. As she injected the second girl, the man howled his rage and the crowd screamed.
Oh, so creepy and good. Good job, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Christie's doctor. You were perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
He was very good.
I have to say this. I don't know about anybody else, but I am now absolutely terrified of Christie.
It was too natural.
That was great. That was fun. That was a really fun excerpt.
That was.
That was very good. Thank you for coming on our show. That was amazing.
I'm going to bleed nightmares tonight.
Dirt on your face or what?
Yes,
I
it's,
love it.
yeah, that's actual dirt. Yeah.
I love it.
That was brilliant.
You're like just putting it to the side on your desk for later, you know, because that's just how
You
we
never
are.
know
We're
when you
weird
need some dirt,
authors.
yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And
Oh,
CJ's is amazing. So much fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I enjoy doing Lurking for Legends, but I really enjoy doing the live read Mondays. Or I say Mondays. It's the first Tuesday of the month. The live read Tuesdays. Yeah.
It's so much fun. Really
Yeah.
so much fun.
That was a
great
lot of fun. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
This is really good.
Yeah.
Dave and I always try to make Christy laugh if we can.
You guys really nailed it this time.
Yeah.
That was it for me. I couldn't stop.
Now people are dying and now we're like laughing. Being tortured.
I'll just fix this limb to this child.
Yeah, I love that. It was Christy was like, she was enjoying her work really well.
And she's like, that was great.
That was cool.
So
My cheeks actually hurt just from like the last 30 minutes of.
yeah, I was watching it. It was so funny watching Lindsay try not to laugh. And
Well, and I'm sitting there trying to follow and watch you guys at the same time, like, wait, what? Because I couldn't like decide what I needed to do. Anyway, that was
Tiger
fun.
Fox says, you're all hilarious. I have to watch these from time to time. We do these the first Tuesday of the month.
Yes.
So we,
Thank you, Frog. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
we have different genres that we try to do. What did we do last month? I can't remember the genre we had, but we'll do a different genre next month. And we just keep going around, and we'll even get into romance. I can't wait to see Dave do some romance.
That should be fun.
We'll get you some steamy romance, Dave.
I might get my wig out again.
Yeah.
Yes. The wig.
So again, thank you, Lindsey and Anita, for joining us, and thanks, Christy, for reading yours as well.
Thanks.
Before we go, Lindsey, do you have something that's coming out soon? And also, where can we find your books?
Yeah. Actually, next Tuesday, the 14th, my newest release, it's a Gothic Beauty and the Beast retelling, comes out. It's like Jane Eyre meets Beauty and the Beast. So that's called City of Ruin. And that will be out, like I said, on Tuesday. It's the first in my retelling series, my historical fantasy retelling series. And you can find my books on my website. I'm pretty much everywhere on all social media. lindseypogue.com, author Lindsey Pogue on social media. And I also have a podcast where we actually like to do fun stuff too, called No Shelf Control. And we talk about book adaptations and, trending books on TikTok. TikTok, Book Talk. I'm kind of everywhere.
That's awesome.
But this is the first time I've done like a live thing like this. So this is really fun.
So glad you could join us.
City of Ruin is amazing. Oh, thank you.
No, that's awesome. And thank you for joining us. If you ever want to appear on Lurking for Legends just as a guest author, you're welcome to do so.
I think
up and we'll send you
I
the
would
link.
love to. Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be fun to hang out with you guys again. You guys definitely make me laugh. So no shortage.
How about you, Anita?
I just released 2 books, actually. I've got the first story in the Hayward and Anderson Consulting Detectives. The Ghostly Tower is out. And it's basically a paranormal steampunk mystery series that's sort of a Sherlock Holmes parody. And I also just published the Planning Your Book, which is a book for writers. It's a creative writer's organizer for putting all your book notes in one place. So those are my 2 announcements.
And where can we find your books?
They're on Amazon. The Planning Your Book's only on Amazon. The other ones are wide: Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble.
Awesome. Let me see. I think that's Christy's got your. Is that you, Christy, putting those banners across the bottom? That's awesome. I tried for 2 weeks to do that, and I can't do it. That's why I don't look after anything techie. Caroline does the techie stuff behind the scenes, and Christy does it, and so does Dave. Actually, while we're on air, I screw them up all the time. So
stick to the shoveling, Richard.
So again, thank you for joining us today, and we really appreciate it. Your stories were great, and we had a lot of fun with them. So
thanks for inviting. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks. It was a great time.
Absolutely.
So is there anything new with Christy this week?
Not too much. I've been working on the second book in the Grimoire Society's series. And I've been working on that. Let's see, I'm up to episode 4 now. So I'm just going to wait until I'm a few episodes in to start releasing them as a serial again. But I predict July. So I'm super excited about that. That's really what I've mostly been working on now.
Nice. How about you, Dave? And actually, we know something's happening with Dave today.
We do.
Other than he's drunk. No.
There we go. Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
Awesome.
Oh, very cool.
My new book, Quillington Dawn, which is the second in the Logan Two Feathers series, is out today. Launched it today. It's a sci-fi adventure thriller set on the first planet to be colonized by humans, and follows on from the first book pretty much directly, with even more crazy action in going on inside it.
The future is about to get more action-packed again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations, Dave. It's always such a great feeling when that happens.
Yeah, it sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries. With me, I'm still working on Windwalker. I'm almost done Windwalker, and the edits are mostly done too. My editors are following along with me, so I can get a quicker release when it's out. And I will be, if anyone in Ontario, especially Southern Ontario, I will be at the Georgetown Highland Games this weekend. I'm looking forward to that. I've never done Highland Games before, but I'll be selling my books and signing books there. So
I hope you've got your chill ready.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I did a couple events last week. I did Robin in the Hood, and that was really cool. And it was an awesome setting. It was right in the woods. So we had all these
That is
tents set up in the woods, and they had a whole bunch of people come in, and it was a very good day. So sold a few
That's
books.
so
and,
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. So anyway, next week's guest. Yes.
So have you got your kilt ready?
No, I don't have a kilt. No, I don't think I can pull that off. No, I've got my knight's costume. I always have a knight's costume I wear when I go to do these events. So and people like take it. That's really cool when people say, "Oh, can I take your picture with or my picture with you?" And that's really fun.
Yeah, and you have an awesome booth too. It's amazing.
Yeah. It changes every week. It depends on how much space they give us, but it's always a crapshoot when we get there. Anyway, next week's guest is historical romance and horror author Mac Little. Mac grew up in the Deep South and has accumulated a vibrant experience which she often emulates in her storytelling. Her stories in international politics and service in the Army have given her impressive perspectives to bring to her novels new layers of intrigues and twists, which are all quite prevalent in her latest novel, Daughter of Hades. So we look forward to speaking with Mac next week. So don't miss that. And remember, the first Tuesday of every month, we do another live read. We haven't quite set what the genre will be next month, but Christy and Dave and I will put our heads together this week and figure it out. So until next week, for Christy, Dave, and myself, we hope everyone has a great week. Until we meet again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take good care. And I
Bye,
think
Thanks for hanging out.
you're welcome. Christy, we lost you.
She gone.
Oh, no. Anyway, good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.